Princess Alara paced the ornate chambers of her royal starship, her brow furrowed in deep contemplation. The holographic displays before her painted a grim picture. A catastrophic failure in her planet's interstellar communications network had left Acaria dangerously isolated from its allies, making it vulnerable to external threats. The stakes were unimaginably high. Without a swift restoration of their interstellar connections, Alara knew her people faced the very real prospect of being caught off guard by rival factions, with potentially devastating consequences. But the damage was beyond the capabilities of Acaria's existing technology, and time was running out. Sighing heavily, Alara turned to her most trusted advisor, General Kira. The situation grows more dire by the day, Kira. Our technicians have exhausted every option, and the Council is deadlocked on how to proceed. I fear we are running out of choices. Kira's expression was grave. I understand your concerns, Your Highness, but you know as well as I that tradition dictates the royal family must handle such matters using our own resources and diplomatic channels. Seeking aid from the humans on Earth would be seen as an unthinkable breach of protocol. Alara's jaw tightened with resolve. I am well aware of the risks, General, but I cannot sit idly by while my people careen towards isolation. The stakes are too high. Kira shook her head. The Council will never approve such an action. They view the humans as little more than primitive savages, unworthy of our attention. You would be risking not only your own reputation, but the very stability of the kingdom. Then so be it, Alara declared, her eyes blazing with determination. I am prepared to face their judgment. My people's survival is all that matters. Kira regarded her with a mixture of admiration and trepidation. Your Highness, you know I will support you, no matter the consequences. But I must urge caution. The humans are unpredictable, and their technology is centuries behind our own. What possible aid could they offer that would be worth the cost? Alara's expression softened slightly. I have studied the humans extensively, Kira. Their history is filled with stories of innovation, resilience, and cooperation in the face of adversity. Perhaps with our guidance, they can provide the breakthrough we need to avert disaster. Kira sighed heavily. I pray you are right, Princess Alara. Very well, I will make the necessary arrangements for your journey to Earth. But I must insist that you take the utmost precautions. The stakes are too high to risk failure. Alara nodded, her resolve unwavering. I understand, General. I will not let my people down. As Kira hurried off to prepare the ship, Alara turned back to the holographic displays, her mind racing with contingency plans and strategies. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was determined to forge a path to salvation, no matter the personal cost. With a deep breath, she summoned her pilot and began issuing a series of coded instructions. Time was of the essence, and she could not afford to waste a single moment. The future of Acaria hung in the balance. Alara's sleek, silver craft glided silently through the inky blackness of space, its advanced cloaking systems concealing it from the primitive sensors of the humans below. As the ship approached the designated coordinates, the young princess felt a mix of trepidation and resolve coursing through her veins. Initiate landing sequence, she commanded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Maintain the cloaking systems until we touch down. I want to avoid any unnecessary attention. The pilot nodded solemnly, guiding the craft down towards a secluded clearing just outside a bustling human metropolis. Alara peered out the view screen, marveling at the sheer scale and complexity of the city sprawled before her. So this is Earth, she murmured, her eyes narrowing. I had no idea their settlements were so extensive. With a gentle thud, the ship settled onto the alien soil. Alara took a moment to straighten her regal robes, then activated the airlock. As the hatch slid open, she stepped out into the cool, night air, every sense on high alert. The distant hum of ground-based transportation and the faint scent of unfamiliar flora assaulted her senses, and she paused, listening intently. Suddenly, the muffled sound of voices reached her ears, rapidly growing louder. Fan out and secure the perimeter. This is a sensitive situation. Let's try to avoid any escalation if possible, a gruff male voice commanded. Elara tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the energy sidearm concealed within her robes. But before she could react, a young human woman in a crisp uniform emerged from the undergrowth, her hands raised in a placating gesture. "Greetings, Your Highness," she said with a polite nod. "I'm Colonel Elena Flores of the Interplanetary Security Division. On behalf of the United Earth Directorate, welcome to our planet." Elara regarded the human woman warily. "You were expecting me, then?" "We detected your ship's approach and monitored its landing," Flores replied. "I must say, we were quite surprised to receive your request for a covered arrival and audience with our leadership. This is highly unorthodox, even for first contact protocols." Alara's eyes narrowed. "I apologize for the subterfuge, Colonel, but the circumstances that have brought me here are of the utmost urgency. My people face a crisis that threatens the very stability of my kingdom. I require an immediate audience with your highest authority to discuss a potential partnership." Flores considered this for a moment, then nodded. "I see. Well, in that case, allow me to escort you to our Directorate headquarters. I'm sure the Secretary General will be most interested to hear what you have to say." As Elara followed the human colonel through the bustling streets, she couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. The curious stares and muttered whispers of the humans around her were a stark contrast to the deferential reverence she was accustomed to on Icaria, and the heavy security presence only served to heighten her awareness of just how precarious her position was on this alien world. Still, Elara refused to be cowed. She was here on a critical mission, and she would do whatever it took to convince these humans to aid her people, even if it meant shattering centuries of royal tradition. With a deep breath, she steeled her resolve and followed Flores through the towering skyscrapers of Earth's capital city, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Elara sat rigidly in the austere conference room, her eyes fixed on the imposing humans seated across the table. Secretary General Mikhail Volkov regarded her with a shrewd, almost predatory gaze, his fingers steepled thoughtfully as he considered her request. "So let me see if I have this straight, Princess Elara," Volkov said in a measured tone. "You are asking the United Earth Directorate to provide critical communications and technological assistance to your home planet, which is facing a potential crisis of isolation. In exchange, you are offering what exactly?" Elara suppressed a wince at his condescending tone. "I am prepared to share advanced Icarian techniques for interstellar network design and maintenance that could greatly benefit your own telecommunications capabilities," she replied evenly. "Additionally, I believe a strategic alliance between our two civilizations could open the door to unprecedented technological and cultural exchange." Volkov raised a skeptical eyebrow. "Forgive me for being blunt, Your Highness, but your people have had the opportunity to make contact and share knowledge with us for centuries. Yet you have chosen to remain isolated, viewing us as little more than savages. Why should we trust that your motives are genuine now, when your very survival is at stake?" Elara felt her jaw tighten with frustration. "I understand your suspicion, Secretary General, but I assure you, my people are facing a crisis of unimaginable proportions. Our interstellar connections hang by a thread. Without your aid, the consequences could be catastrophic. Surely you can empathize with the desperate measures one must take to protect their own." Volkov held her gaze for a long, tense moment, then sighed heavily. "Very well. I will convene my top telecommunications and scientific advisors to evaluate the viability of your proposal. In the meantime, you will be escorted to secure accommodations, where you will remain under observation until a decision has been made." Elara opened her mouth to protest, but a wave of Volkov's hand silenced her. "I'm afraid I cannot take any risks, Princess. The stakes are far too high, both for your people and for ours. You will cooperate fully, or your request will be denied. Do I make myself clear?" Biting back her pride, Elara nodded stiffly. Understood, Secretary General. As she was led away by a pair of armed guards, Alara couldn't help but feel a sinking sense of dread. She had come to this alien world seeking salvation, but now her fate rested in the hands of these suspicious, unpredictable humans. If they refused to aid her, her people were doomed. Alara's musings were interrupted by the arrival of a young man in a rumpled lab coat who greeted the guards with a casual wave. "I'm here to escort the princess to her accommodations," he said, flashing Alara a lopsided grin. "Name's Jaden, by the way. Pleased to meet you." Alara eyed the human skeptically. "I was under the impression I would be confined to a cell, not given the luxury of an escort." Jaden shrugged. "Hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just following orders. Come on, let's get you settled in." As Alara fell into step beside the human, she couldn't help but wonder if perhaps there was more to these primitives than met the eye. Perhaps with the right approach, she could find an unlikely ally in this Jaden. After all, the fate of her kingdom rested on her ability to forge connections with these strange, unpredictable beings. Alara stared in fascination as Jaden guided her through the bustling human diplomatic compound, his animated gestures and rapid-fire explanations barely keeping pace with the array of advanced equipment surrounding them. "And this is our main cultural exchange suite," Jaden said, leading her into a spacious, technology-laden room. "We use these holographic interfaces to coordinate live cultural demonstrations and educational programs with representatives from all over the world. It's like having everyone in the same room, even if they're thousands of miles apart." Alara nodded, her fingers tracing the smooth surfaces with a sense of reverence. "Remarkable. Your people have made incredible strides in communication and collaborative learning, despite your technological limitations." Jaden grinned. "Limitations, huh? Guess you Icarians haven't seen anything yet." He gestured towards a nearby workstation, where a complex cultural exchange program was suspended in midair. "Just wait till you see what we've been cooking up for your little interstellar crisis." Alara felt a spark of hope ignite within her. "You mean, you believe you can devise a solution?" "Well, that's what the big brains upstairs are trying to figure out," Jaden said, his expression turning serious. "But let me tell you, your timing couldn't be better. We've been working on a revolutionary new approach to cultural exchange that utilizes advanced virtual reality simulations and interactive educational modules. If we can integrate some of your Icarian communication techniques, it just might be the breakthrough you need." Alara's eyes widened. "That is remarkably fortuitous. May I?" She gestured towards the schematic, and Jaden nodded, tapping a few commands into the console. As Alara studied the intricate hologram, her mind raced with possibilities. The core principles behind the human system were sound, but there were several key areas where Icarian expertise could dramatically enhance its effectiveness. Reaching into her robes, she produced a slender datapad and began furiously inputting commands. Jaden watched in fascination as lines of alien code danced across the display, seamlessly integrating with the human schematic. "Whoa, what are you doing?" he asked, leaning in for a closer look. "Apologies, I should have asked first," Alara murmured, her fingers flying across the interface. "I'm simply making a few minor adjustments to your cultural exchange program, incorporating some Icarian communication protocols and interactive learning algorithms that should drastically improve the system's engagement and efficacy." Jaden whistled low under his breath. "Well, I'll be. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you just solved our little interstellar crisis in about 10 seconds flat." Alara looked up, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Perhaps, but the true test will be when we implement these modifications and observe the results. I must admit, I'm rather eager to see how it performs." "You and me both, Your Highness," Jaden said, grinning. "Simon, let's get this show on the road. I'll call in the rest of the team, and we can start prepping the prototype right away." As Jaden hurried off to summon his colleagues, Alara allowed herself a moment of cautious optimism. Perhaps her gamble to seek aid from these humans was not as foolhardy as she had initially feared. If this collaboration proved successful, it could not only save her people, but also forge the beginnings of a lasting alliance between their two civilizations. With a renewed sense of purpose, Alara turned her attention back to the holographic schematic, already envisioning the ways in which Acarian and human ingenuity could reshape the future. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as Alara worked tirelessly alongside Jaden and his team of human diplomats, refining the cultural exchange prototype and preparing it for field testing. Despite some initial skepticism, the humans had embraced her insights and technical expertise with remarkable enthusiasm. "I don't know how you do it, but every time you tweak one of our programs, it's like you're unlocking hidden potential we never even knew was there." Jaden marveled as they hunched over the latest batch of test results. "It's almost as if you have some kind of sixth sense for this stuff." Alara allowed herself a small, proud smile. "It is the result of centuries of Acarian research and training, Jaden. Our people have dedicated their lives to mastering the intricacies of interstellar communication and cultural diplomacy." "Well, whatever it is, it's working like a charm," Jaden said, gesturing to the holographic display. "The latest trials show a 30% increase in cross-cultural engagement and understanding compared to our original prototype. I think we're really onto something here." Alara nodded, her expression growing contemplative. "Indeed. However, I cannot help but wonder, why has it been so easy?" Jaden blinked. "Easy? You call this easy? Your Highness, I haven't slept more than 4 hours a night since you got here." "That is not what I mean," Alara said, her brow furrowing. "Forgive me, but I am accustomed to a great deal more resistance when it comes to sharing Acarian technology with outsiders. Yet your people have welcomed my contributions without hesitation." Jaden shrugged. "Well, you did come to us in a time of need. I guess the Secretary General figured it was worth taking a chance, even if it meant setting aside a few traditions." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Or perhaps, there are those who would prefer to maintain the status quo, regardless of the cost." Before Jaden could respond, a sudden blaring alarm echoed through the compound, followed by the frantic shouts of nearby diplomats. "What's happening?" Alara demanded, already moving towards the commotion. I'm not sure, but it looks like some kind of security breach in the prototype containment field," one of the staff cried. "The fail-safes aren't responding. We're losing control." Alara's heart raced as she watched the holographic displays flicker and distort. Whatever was happening, it was clear that someone had deliberately sabotaged their work. Her suspicions had been correct all along. "Jaden, we must shut down the prototype immediately," she cried. "There is no time to waste. Lives could be at stake." Jaden's face was etched with panic as he began frantically inputting commands, but to no avail. The containment field continued to destabilize, and Alara could already hear the distant sounds of evacuation alarms blaring throughout the compound. In that moment, Alara knew they were running out of time. Whirling around, she fixed Jaden with a fierce, determined gaze. "Listen to me carefully. I am going to attempt to manually override the system. You must stall for time and evacuate the area. Can I trust you to do this?" Jaden hesitated, then nodded resolutely. "You got it, Your Highness. Just be careful, okay?" Alara offered him a small, sad smile. "I shall do my best." With that, she turned and raced towards the heart of the failing prototype, her mind racing as she sought a solution that could avert disaster. Whoever was behind this sabotage, she vowed to uncover their treacherous scheme, no matter the cost. Alara's fingers flew across the holographic interface, her brow furrowed in concentration as she fought to regain control of the destabilizing prototype. All around her, the compound was in chaos as Jaden and the other diplomats scrambled to evacuate the area. "Princess, you need to get out of there," Jaden shouted over the blaring alarms. "The containment field is collapsing. It's too dangerous." "I cannot abandon this now, Jaden," Alara called back, her voice strained with effort. There must be a way to stabilize the system before it's too late. She could feel the energy field surrounding her fluctuating wildly, the very air crackling with electricity. Gritting her teeth, Alara poured every ounce of her focus into the task at hand, probing the underlying code for any vulnerabilities she could exploit. Suddenly, a flash of insight struck her. "Of course," she exclaimed, her fingers flying across the interface. "The primary power conduits. If I can reroute the flow, I may be able to create a feedback loop to stabilize the field." Jaden watched in awe as Alara's deft manipulations began to slow the prototype's descent into chaos. But just as it seemed they might avert disaster, a massive explosion rocked the compound, sending debris raining down around them. "What the?" Jaden whirled around, his eyes widening in horror as he caught sight of a heavily armed tactical squad advancing through the smoke. "Oh no, they're trying to destroy the prototype." Alara spared a glance at the approaching soldiers, her heart pounding. "Jaden, you must evacuate immediately. This is no longer simply about our experiment. There are forces at work who will stop at nothing to prevent our success." "But I can't just leave you here," Jaden protested, his face etched with concern. "You must," Alara insisted, her voice brooking no argument. "I will hold them off as long as I can. Get to safety and alert the authorities. They need to know the truth about what is happening here." Jaden hesitated for a long, agonizing moment, then nodded reluctantly. "Okay, but I'm coming back for you. Just stay alive." "All right." Alara offered him a small, sad smile. "I shall do my best." As Jaden disappeared into the chaos, Alara turned her attention back to the prototype, her mind racing. She had to find a way to stabilize the system and prevent the soldiers from destroying their months of hard work. But more than that, she had to uncover the root of this conspiracy and expose the truth, no matter the personal cost. Taking a deep breath, Alara steeled her resolve and stepped out from behind the protective field, confronting the advancing squad head-on. Their weapons were raised, but she refused to back down, her hands outstretched in a placating gesture. "Stand down," she commanded, her voice ringing with authority. "I am Princess Alara of Acaria, and I demand to know the meaning of this outrageous interference." The squad leader paused, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Princess, what are you?" But before he could finish, a deafening explosion rocked the compound, sending them all staggering. Alara's eyes widened as she realized the prototype's containment field had finally collapsed, unleashing a torrent of raw, uncontrolled energy. In that moment, she knew they were all in grave danger. Bracing herself, she prepared to face whatever lay ahead, determined to uncover the truth and save her people, no matter the cost. Alara stood before the assembled leaders of Earth and Acaria, a weary but resolute expression on her face. The last several days had been a whirlwind of chaos, danger, and revelation. But now the time had come to present the fruits of their hard-won collaboration. Beside her, Jaden fidgeted nervously, casting occasional glances at the stern-faced Acarian counselors who eyed him with skepticism. Alara placed a reassuring hand on his arm, offering him an encouraging nod. "Members of the United Earth Directorate and the Acarian High Council," she began, her voice ringing with authority, "I stand before you today to unveil a cultural exchange breakthrough that has the potential to forever change the relationship between our two civilizations." She gestured to the large holographic display behind her, which sprang to life, showcasing the advanced interstellar communications program they had developed. "As you are all aware, Acaria faces a grave crisis of isolation, one that threatens the very stability of my kingdom. It was this dire situation that led me to seek aid from your people." Alara paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled leaders. What began as a last-ditch effort has blossomed into a remarkable collaboration, one that has not only averted catastrophe on my home world, but has also opened the door to unprecedented technological and cultural exchange. She turned to Jaden, offering him a small smile. Through the tireless efforts of my human counterparts and the integration of Acarian communications expertise, we have created an interstellar exchange program that can rapidly establish and maintain robust connections between our worlds. Its applications are limitless. It could revolutionize diplomacy and cultural outreach on both our civilizations and pave the way for future joint ventures in fields ranging from scientific research to artistic expression. Jaden stepped forward, his expression a mix of pride and trepidation. Yeah, what the princess said. This thing is a total game changer. It's like taking the best of both our cultures and mashing them together into one supercharged package. We're really excited to see what the future holds. Alara suppressed a smile at Jaden's awkward enthusiasm, then turned back to the audience. However, as you are no doubt aware, our path to this breakthrough has not been without its challenges. There were those who sought to derail our efforts, who wished to maintain the status quo and prevent the forging of an alliance between our peoples. Her gaze hardened as she fixed the Acarian counselors with a pointed stare. I speak, of course, of the saboteurs who nearly cost us everything. It is only through the bravery and quick thinking of my human partners that we were able to uncover this conspiracy and bring those responsible to justice. Jaden fidgeted uncomfortably as all eyes turned to him. Yeah, no big deal. We just, saved the day. Totally normal day at the office, am I right? Alara chuckled softly, then raised her hand to silence the murmurs that had broken out among the Acarian delegation. But that is all in the past now. Today, we stand before you with a solution that can benefit both our worlds and a foundation upon which to build a lasting alliance. She turned to Secretary General Volkov, offering him a measured nod. Secretary General, I believe the time has come for our peoples to come together, to put aside our differences and work towards a brighter future. What say you? Volkov stroked his chin contemplatively, then a slow smile spread across his face. Princess Alara, I believe you may be on to something. Let the era of the diplomatic voyagers begin. In the weeks that followed the historic unveiling of the interstellar communications technology, Alara found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity as the alliance between Earth and Acaria began to take shape. Shuttling back and forth between the two worlds, she immersed herself in a dizzying array of diplomatic meetings, cultural exchange programs, and joint training exercises. It was a far cry from the staid, tradition-bound existence she had known on Acaria, and Alara reveled in the energy and dynamism of her new role as a bridge between civilizations. I have to admit, Your Highness, I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around all of this, Jaden confessed one evening as they strolled through the bustling streets of the Earth capital. Just a few months ago, we were practically at each other's throats. Now we're talking about joint space missions and educational exchanges. It's kind of mind-boggling. Alara chuckled softly. I understand your bewilderment, Jaden. The pace of change has been nothing short of dizzying, but I believe it is a testament to the power of what can be achieved when we set aside our preconceptions and embrace the unknown. She gestured to the vibrant cityscape surrounding them, a wistful expression on her face. When I first arrived on Earth, I confess I viewed your people with a mixture of trepidation and disdain. The idea of collaborating with such primitives was anathema to everything I had been taught. Jaden raised an eyebrow. Ouch. Way to make a guy feel special. Alara smiled ruefully. Forgive me. I was a product of my upbringing, just as you were. But through our work together, I have come to see the true potential of your species, your boundless curiosity, your innovative spirit, your capacity for empathy and cooperation. She placed a hand on Jaden's arm, her gaze earnest. You humans have shown me that the barriers between our civilizations are not insurmountable. With open minds and a willingness to learn from one another, we can achieve so much more than we ever could alone. Jaden nodded slowly, a thoughtful expression on his face. I think you're right. I mean, look at what we accomplished with that cultural exchange program. We took the best of both our worlds and made something truly incredible. Imagine what else we could do if we put our minds to it. Precisely, Ellara replied, which is why I have decided to remain on Earth, at least for the foreseeable future. Jaden blinked in surprise. Wait, really? But what about your kingdom? Your people? Ellara smiled reassuringly. They are in good hands, Jaden. The crisis has been averted, and the technology we developed will continue to benefit Acaria for generations to come. But my true calling now lies in forging this new alliance, in serving as a conduit between our worlds and unlocking the boundless potential that lies before us. She squeezed his arm gently. I hope you will join me in this endeavor. Your insights and enthusiasm have been invaluable, and I believe there is so much more we can accomplish together. Jaden's face broke into a wide grin. Well, when you put it that way, how can I say no? Count me in, Your Highness. Let's go build a better future. As they strode off, side by side, Ellara couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and possibility. The road ahead would undoubtedly be filled with challenges, but she knew that with Jaden and the rest of the humans by her side, anything was possible. This was the dawn of a new era, an era of diplomatic voyagers, where the divide between civilizations would be spanned by curiosity, cooperation, and the boundless potential of what they could achieve together.